Greetings to all the lovely ladies and gentlemen out there. I'm your host, the ProGent, and I've got jury duty. Yeah, sorry folks. This week's episode's gonna be a little late because I have to go fulfill my civic obligations. Sorry for the delay. See you later.
Objection!
Well, never mind. Seems this legal system doesn't use jurors. Seems like an odd way of handling cases. Anyway, what was I supposed to review today? Ah, right. Today we'll be looking at the anime adaptation of the Gyakuten Saibon series, more commonly known in America as Ace Attorney. Published by Capcom, Ace Attorney launched on the Game Boy Advance in Japan back in 2001, and saw its debut in the West on the Nintendo DS in 2005. The game sold well in both markets, and became a staple of Capcom's lineup, eventually winding up with multiple sequels, crossovers, manga series, an all-female theater review, and, of course, an anime series. The first season of the anime, which I'll be talking about today, covers the events of the first two Ace Attorney games. A second season is in the works that covers later games, but that hasn't been released at the time of recording. The anime is directed by Ayumu Watanabe, whose most notable previous work is on the Doraemon movies, while series creator Shu Takumi serves as the script supervisor.
In Japan's criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate but equally important groups: the incredibly bizarre public prosecutors who investigate crimes, and the magical psychic attorneys that defend the accused. These are their identities.
The series follows Phoenix Wright, a brand new defense attorney heading into his first case. As is true in most works about defense attorneys, his clients have an uncanny knack for being falsely accused, and the various prosecutors he goes up against are usually too focused on winning the case to care about actual guilt or innocence. So it's left up to Phoenix to save the poor accused from a life in prison, using only his investigative skills, his wits, and his quasi-psychic supernatural power to tell if someone is hiding the truth. What? It's an anime. Did you really think there wouldn't be superpowers? As the series progresses, we meet more of the figures involved in Phoenix's career, including his mentor, Mia Fey, her sister Maya, the determined but reasonable prosecutor Edgeworth, his mentor, the determined and very unreasonable Manfred von Karma, and his daughter Franziska, who thinks it's an acceptable legal practice to whip people in open court. It's probably worth noting at this point that the court system depicted here is based on the Japanese legal practice of trial by judge with no jury involved. Jury trials in Japan were abolished during World War II and weren't reinstated until 2009. Now if anybody asks, you can say you're watching educational videos instead of the anime reviews. Hooray for plausible deniability! Visually, Ace Attorney has its ups and downs. To be more specific, the important characters, those that are actually involved in the story, are well animated. The show's strongest suit is in the characters' facial expressions. The games feature very expressive and distinct looks for each character, and the show does an excellent job in reproducing these, creating some very hilarious moments in the process. The biggest visual downside is the background characters, most notably in the gallery inside the courtroom. To save money and animation time, the show uses pretty blatant CGI to fill out crowds. I find it disconcerting whenever we go from the excellent look of the primary characters to the same 5 models copy-pasted 40 times in the gallery. I understand why shortcuts like this are necessary, but the dissonance it creates in some of the wider shots is enough to take me out of the story for a moment. The show's writing is good, keeping faithfully to the game's plot while adapting it well into a new medium. The writers kept the game's great balance of humor and emotional moments, with the timing staying strong throughout. Some of the game's more game-ish elements were dropped, notably the concept of psyche locks, introduced in the second game as another quasi-supernatural way for Phoenix to discover the truth. The anime does downplay the supernatural elements of the series, so the decision to remove psyche locks makes sense with that in mind. So yeah, the Ace Attorney anime does a lot to be its own thing, while also retaining quite a lot of the charm and originality of the source material. Is it a perfect transition? Not at all. But it's a strong one, and that's a lot better than some adaptations manage. I recommend the anime for fans of the series, and even more strongly if you've never played the games, since, in that case, the plot will come as more of a surprise. And you should also play the games because they're awesome. It's tough to do the Ace Attorney games justice, but this anime series pulls it off. Overall, my verdict for this anime is guilty of being entertaining. I've been the Professional Gentleman, and thank you for listening. Wait, how'd I get a jury summons if there's no jury? Thanks for watching. As always, a thank you to Andy Lita for keeping me looking so fine. Check out his work in the description below. If you enjoyed the show, please click on that thumbs up over there. It helps us out a lot. If you've got suggestions for something I can review in the future, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And of course, subscribe to my channel for future content.
Love ya, boy.